Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9. All
right, everybody, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. I'm Guido along with Scoop.
Coming to you, recorded from the Frog. Here's Johnson.
Guido, would you like some extra mayo with your bowl?
I mean, I imagine Scoot is extremely excited. His favorite condiment is the sponsor of our bowl.
Scoot, is that your favorite condiment?
Nobody says that. Nobody says mayo is their favorite condiment. I mean,
is it not like the most appropriate bowl for Neil Brown to have to coach in?
Yes, because mayo is so that you can not choke on your turkey sandwich. Hopefully this mayo will help us not choke on the product.
What is your, is mayo in your, top three?
I mean, favorite or used? There's a difference.
I don't know. Why do you have to throw a curveball on everything?
Wait. Are we saying you use a lot of mayo?
Yeah,
I use it for turkey sandwiches.
If you don't like it, why do you use it? I guess would be my next question.
I don't know where am I going out. Mustard, is that where I'm supposed to go? What else do you do with a turkey sandwich?
Guido, I think you can go deli mustard. You can go a lot of places, Scoot.
Do you got some cranberry sauce on it?
That's not a turkey. So with cheese, you don't do that. Nobody does that.
Well, we're not assuming that cheese has to be on everything. Anyway, Duke's Mayo Bowl is a lot better, Guido, than when we talked last pod about what our options were that we thought that were being predicted. I mean, versus what did we think when we left last pod? Toledo in the Birmingham Bowl. This is worlds. This feels worlds better than that.
I mean, at least we're playing a Power 5 school, UNC, out of the Atlantic Coast, not so much Atlantic Coast Conference anymore. UNC 8-4 record, just like us. So I think it has the potential of being a fun matchup. It's Wednesday, December 27th. It's on ESPN, 5:30 kickoff. So you come home if you're working those days, or you're just trying to wind down. Nice, make dinner and watch a game. It could be a good time.
And in Charlotte too, Guido. this is going to be. Okay, I went to the game I get this wrong all the time, late 2008 or early 2000. I guess it was late 2008.
2008, yeah.
P5 White's last game.
Yep.
And that was a great game. He sort of, Guido, if you recall, he pulled a fast one on North Carolina that game, and he passed all over the place. Todd McShay at the time, if you remember, was saying, well, you can't go with Pat White in the draft because he can't pass. Pat came out and passed for 4 quarters, and it was a great game. WVU won. It was a great atmosphere. It was wall-to-wall people. I don't recall if it was a sellout, but it had to be close. And it was a super fun atmosphere, and it felt like it shut the interstate down. There was so much traffic everywhere around Charlotte. So I fully expect WVU fans, North Carolina fans, obviously, but I expect WVU fans to be excited for this. It's something they can get to. Scoot, it's not who we playing this week in 1,200 miles away. No, it's I can go to this game. It's regional. I can get there easy. I think this is a great happenstance for us.
I mean, if we're being honest, right? I would say Myrtle Beach is probably West Virginia South, right?
That would be a great bowl. The Myrtle Beach Bowl would be a great bowl.
Charlotte is I don't know, the Mid-Atlantic of West Virginia and in the realm of the East Coast. It is. There are so many transplants from West Virginia in Charlotte. It's a second home.
And in North Carolina, just in general, I feel like I see people in North Carolina all the time with flying WVs in their windows. So this will be well attended. I think people will be excited. Again, Guido, when you compare this to driving to Birmingham to play a MAC school, I guess the FSU ripple effect caused all this craziness, but I'm happy about it.
Listen, I'm going to say this. Of all the bowls, this is probably the only bowl that I'm somewhat interested in, just because, of the non, final 2, I guess, bowls, the playoff bowls, because it's the Mayo Bowl, right? There's a weird little mayonnaise thing that goes on, Pinstripe Bowl, not too exciting. Birmingham Bowl, nothing. Liberty Bowl, what are we talking about? A bell or something? Like, this is mayonnaise. And
what are we talking about? Liberty?
We're
talking about
mayonnaise.
Liberty.
They get mayonnaise dumped on them. That's kind of fun.
I mean, I guess. Do they really get mayonnaise dumped on them?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yes.
No, they do. The winning coach. Yeah,
remember,
he gets.
Was it Shane Beamer last year?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I don't know if it was him last year or the year before, but Shane Beamer got dumped with the mayo.
Scoot, would it be worth it to you to see Neil Brown, like, winning aside,
I mean,
him covered in mayo?
Yes, that would be great. I have also, on the text machine with you fellas, believe that this was set up with, I think they want Drake May to win this thing from UNC, the quarterback, because then the headlines are already written.
Right. Yes.
The Drake Mayo Bowl.
Drake Mayo Bowl. So Drake May, who, by the way, he's had a really great season. I mean, he's passed for 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, had a great season. But yeah, that's all over already, the Drake Mayo Bowl, all of that. I think here's the thing I look at it. I mean, it was good to get a draw. It's good to play a Power 5 school. Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, it's one of the bigger payout bowls that we kind of were talking about, as it comes from a money aspect of it for these schools. So that's also a good thing.
Yeah, Scoot, who knew there's money in Mayo? Like, of all of these ACC bowl tie-ins, I keep reading that the Duke's Mayo Bowl has one of the bigger payouts. So again, like, that's a great, like, I don't know how this fell our way. Guido, the universe never slants in our favor, but this feels like it did. Now, I wanted Brett McMurphy. I was watching his tweets, posts all day long, hoping he was going to say, Scoot the Irish. I wanted the Irish to be in our bowl.
I did not.
Because I wanted vindication for Major Harris, but I think this is great. I'm not going to complain. Guido, we also kind of wanted the Hokies to fall in there, but this is fine. I'm not going to complain about it. This is great. This is get toable. It's a good opponent. I think it's going to be one of the better. Like, I don't think it'll be
the Pop-Tarts. Everyone was wanting to be a Pop-Tart.
Well, I don't think it's going to be. Guido, don't you hate it when you turn the TV on and there's like 10,000 people in the whole stadium and the game, like,
right.
The vibe is just non-existent. I don't feel like this will be that way.
No, I think this will have people. I think that this will have energy. It'll be fun. North Carolina's didn't finish the season strong. They lost to Clemson and NC State. Granted, those are two really good schools, but to finish out the season, they beat Pitt 41-24. So they let Pitt score a little bit. I look at it. I think it's a win-win, for us. I think that WVU gets a better bowl bid than we all expected. If they lose, at least they're losing to a Power 5 school instead of Toledo. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think the teams match up pretty well, and I'm sure we'll break it down. But again, between now and the bowl game, but like, I think it's a good shot for WVU to actually win a bowl and finish with a 9-win season, Johnson.
Well, it feels like Neil Brown, Scoot. It feels like Neil Brown's next opportunity to beat a team of importance, right? I mean, and I'm not saying that UNC is wonderful or anything, but it's an 8-win team. It's a winning record. It's a team that has a pulse. Well, like, how about go out?
If he does win, that's going to be obviously that is the highlight of the season.
I mean, it's an opportunity now. You've got everyone, us, talking about, like, this has been
all three of us talking about it.
You've got people talking about how it feels like a hollow 8 wins. Then go out and tell those people, well, here's where we put our foot in the ground and we get a win.
I'll be curious to see injury wise, maybe not so much injury wise, but you're going to get some of these guys that opt out for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see. I do feel, and maybe this is an indictment on Neil Brown's, recruiting or coaching. I do feel that WVU is less likely to have guys sit out because they're preparing for the NFL. Why do I say that? Because Neil Brown doesn't really prepare guys for the NFL. So I feel like you're going to get more guys trying to hopefully, increase their stock by playing in the bowl game as opposed to not wanting to get hurt and cause their stock to drop.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't think you have a lot of West Virginia players that are going to hold out just to go to the draft or
like I think of like Will Greer, Will Greer held out. Like I think that's probably the last time we've really been to a bowl where guys were like, "Hey, listen, I don't want it." Tony Fields, he held out, I think, in the bowl game that he was supposed to go to. I don't think we're going to have too much of that.
Well, I also think so I now need to do my research. I don't know a ton about UNC, but I think a lot of these guys on their offense, at least, maybe not the defense, but when you scan some of their offensive starters, a lot of these guys are young. I think, like you brought up May, I think he's only a sophomore, Scoot. So I don't think you have people in some of these positions where they're seniors, they'd be protecting something like that.
Right.
That's usually when you get the opt-outs, but I don't know. That'll be interesting. Are you thinking, so I know you were just kind of giving your opinion there, but so you think no one from WVU sits out this game?
I think very few. I think Frazier is probably not going to play.
He's definitely not playing. That's beneficial. You've got a couple of guys who've already entered the transfer portal or already announced that they're not coming back.
Right, they're out, but they were non-factors. Those were the wide receivers that weren't seeing time anyway.
Yeah,
I think the only one that you might see come in is, I have a feeling, and I'm just guessing, I have a feeling you might see a C.J. Donaldson maybe think about putting his name in the portal. With Jaheim White, he's not the number one running back anymore. Does he think about leaving West Virginia? Does that have him, not play the game?
I wonder, I don't know this, but could a Wyatt Milam or a Doug Nestor, if
someone else from the offensive line,
maybe opt out just because they're of the people that could potentially get drafted. I would say those guys are the ones that potentially could get drafted.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. Right now I have the feeling that won't be many, if at any, like you were saying. I don't really expect it.
I would expect Lee Koba to still play. I don't think he would opt out.
Guido, I think your comment is probably more like that makes more sense to me, that maybe some surprise portal things could that would be the thing that would maybe happen more so than.
Do you think a guy like C.J. Donaldson holds out for a week or two to see how the game plan or the scheming seems to be shaping up in practice, and then says, you know what, it doesn't look like the writing's on the wall here. I'm probably not going to get too many carries, or I'm not going to get a lot of touches, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Is that a factor? Do you think?
Well, I think that this week. Well, I think these next couple weeks in general, part of what the coaching staff has to do is re-recruit a lot of these players, right? There's been a lot of time between now and, in the first of the year, re-recruiting these guys to be back, to come back. And they're probably having those conversations with him. But I think if you're C.J. Donaldson and you look at the last, 2-3 games of the season and see where the workload went, and the fact that Jaheim White's a freshman, a year younger than you, I think you look at it and go, I don't know.
I think if I'm C.J. Donaldson, I think as I see how this is slanted, I think maybe I talk to the coaching staff and say, hey, listen, I know Cole Taylor's not going to be here very long. What about maybe giving me some reps at tight end or some other spot?
Well, that's what he was originally, right? He was originally in a tight end.
And he'd be a fast tight end. I mean, you got to think, if the guy's playing running back, you don't see too many guys that do that.
Right.
So I wonder, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how he catches compared to, a Cole Taylor. He does catch a little bit out of the backfield, but we don't do a lot of that.
Well, West Virginia has faced North Carolina 2 times, guys. So Johnson, as he said earlier, they played in the 2008 Meineke Car Care Bowl. West Virginia, Pat White's last game, won that game 31-30. Noel Devine ran for 61 yards, had a touchdown. I think you're right, Johnson. Pat threw for 300 and some odd yards and a couple of 3 touchdowns, I think. So that was a great game. That was that was one of those, after the previous year, made things feel good.
A little bit. Yeah, it was a salve right on the wounds. It was cool to see. I remember seeing Pat come out. They sang with the crowd. It was a cool atmosphere. It would be wonderful to see that kind of atmosphere here again this December. I'd be pumped.
Prior to that, you got to go back to the Don Nealon era. We played them in the Gator Bowl in 1997. That was the time that UNC beat us. in that game. So, 1-1 historically against each other. Right now, if you're wondering, because, not all of you are degenerate gamblers like me, but if you are wondering, North Carolina is favored by 3.5 points right now, and it's a over-under of 55.5. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that West Virginia has been scoring a lot to finish out the season. The Garrett Green era has come alive with lots of running and scoring, and so I think that that right now that's why that over/under is really at that 55 mark, guys. We'll make predictions later. I want to do a little research. I want to get to know North Carolina a little bit better. I think West Virginia has a chance in this game, Scooty. I really do.
Well, we'll see. It's going to depend on our defense, I think. I think our offense will be fine. I don't know what I think about our defense a lot of times.
I am gonna ditto that, Scoot. I think the wild card, and don't forget about our friends on special teams.
Oh, yes.
I can tell you're excited to talk about them. So the defense, if they can just get in front of these guys, North Carolina, Guido, when you kind of look at their season, they kind of look like a mystery a bit to me. They're kind of hot and cold. They beat some ranked teams, and then they lost to some people that, like, they lost to Virginia. They lost to Georgia Tech. I mean, that stands out. They beat Duke. They beat Miami. They beat Syracuse. I mean, they've got some decent wins on here, but it's just a little bit like, I don't know. They're like, I'm like you. We'll have to dig in a bit more because I think at the 30,000 foot level, it's hard to get an idea of where they are.
Well, and don't forget that, it's going to be the first time since 2013 where we are going to get to face Mac Brown. So you've got that factor in there. You got that old Texas. Last time we saw Mac Brown on a field was 2013. We lost. Remember that 47-40, that overtime game in Morgantown that Mac Brown had? That was that last time that he came against the Mountaineers. So that's like an added factor for me.
Yeah, a little bit of history there.
Yeah. So speaking of head coaches, let's talk about our head coach Neil Brown. It was, I guess, officially, maybe not semi-officially announced this week, where Ren Baker was on Statewide Sportsline earlier in the week, guys, and said that Neil Brown will be the head football coach for the 2024 season.
Yeah, Guido, Ren Baker said that he thought Neil had, quote, made a lot of progress. Scoot, I still love Ren, but I don't know that I agree with all this. But, like, what else is he going to say, right? Like, I don't know what else we kind of expected this, did we not? I mean, a guy wins eight games. I think, Guido, you said it last week. He kind of did everything you asked him to do. I mean, we may not love the the tenure and the history that he's dragging into this year, but if you just look at this year, I think it's hard to move on from a guy after 8 wins. So I'm not surprised. I think it still feels weird though, Scoot, because now you head into next year, and I think if you don't retain this talent, like if you go lay an egg in this bowl game, you don't retain this talent, then it's just going to be like, merp, merp.
I don't know what he's going to do with the talent. I'm curious to see, like, we've been seeing the names of I don't know if you've seen them. I've seen them. The names of the guys that we've been kind of recruiting from the other colleges. They're all mid-major type guys. There's nobody that we've seen name-wise that have come from a Power 5 type school. That, I don't know how that feels to me. I don't know if that's...
Well, it feels like a repeat of the things we've criticized, right, over the last 4+ years.
Like, it tells
that's
me,
what I
like,
think.
You don't think you're
right.
strong enough to get a big... a name from a big school.
No, you're right. It gives you that impression. Like, well, these are the type of guys I feel like I can get. These are the guys I feel like I can impress with what we have.
It gives me a little bit of a Pittsburgh Pirates feel. Like, we can't get that top tier. We have to go for the next level or the third level tier guy. Like, that's what it feels like.
Like they'll be happy with us. We got to go after that guy.
Well, and I feel like I don't know, maybe you guys can disagree, or maybe you do. Just like, I feel like I'd almost rather us just go after junior college players, because I feel like there are better junior college players than there are sometimes some of these lower level Division I guys.
Well, I mean, pre-portal era,
Like Bruce Irvin.
Owen Schmidt. Yeah, right. Look at those guys who Rich Rod got in and all the, yeah, right. I hear you. But I think it's a different world now, in football recruiting in general. I just think it's a different, I don't know. Here's where I look at it. I think that Ren Baker there wasn't much of a choice to be made. Neil Brown did what he said he was going to do. And I've been saying that for weeks. He's done what he said he was going to do. By the way, I hope that Kirk Herbstreit is buying Pat McAfee a truck or whatever. He bet him. You remember that whole thing? Bet, there's no way West Virginia wins 8 games. I think McAfee guessed 8 games at the beginning of the season. So anyway, I think that Neil Brown, what are you going to do? You're not going to get anything better. You're not going to tear the program down just because you think a guy isn't cool, Scoot. It's just he did what he said he was going to do. He brought a winning season. He's got us to a decent bowl. We're playing a Power 5 school in a bowl game that's not on December 13th. There's all positives. The negatives are that you don't like him.
That's correct. That is correct. I don't like him. I mean, it is what it is now. I don't know next year if – I hate saying it is what it is, but – I don't know that next year.
But it isn't bad. That's the thing I got to tell you, Scoot.
Oh, it's not bad. It's not good either. It's just this constant state of purgatory.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Scoot. And I think I was still thinking about your comment about the names we've been seeing so far that the coaches seem to be pursuing. They are I think we saw some MAC schools mixed in there, Scoot. I think that's why you brought that up. And I think what that makes me think of is I feel like we've done that now year over year. And I may be wrong, but I think the only Power 5, or at least one of the only Power 5 transfers, maybe just on defense, because I can think of the kid from NC State, wide receiver on offense. But, I think Beanie Bishop,
right. He was at
if I remember correctly, Guido, and he came in, had an impact. He landed on, I think he got an all Big 12 defense award at the end of the year.
Done okay. We still, our secondary still doesn't really intercept.
Right. But I mean, in terms of going out to the portal and recruiting people to have an impact, that's what I would want to see. I would want to see Power 5, or what are we now? Power 3, Power 2, and then some other conferences, whatever I'm trying to say, bigger brand name schools to give me the feeling okay, maybe that guy can come in and make an impact. When I see, when I see these team names that we normally see getting thrown around, I just immediately sort of sad trombone, because I don't feel like you're going to see that guy come in, and not that they can't, but it just gives me that leading feeling I don't necessarily expect much.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think next year, and you guys aren't wrong. The schedule's completely different next year. It is much more of a juggernaut. It's going to be much tougher than this year's schedule. You add back in Iowa State, you add back in the Kansases, so Arizona, is going to be on our schedule next year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But either way, however you want to break it down, fellers, Neil Brown is back for another season in Morgantown for 2024. Johnson, just a little cleanup thing here with football. JT Daniels, he's done with football.
Yeah, we saw that came out over the weekend. JT Daniels, formerly of the Mountaineers and of a lot of other places, Scoot, now with Rice this season. And I think he actually had a really nice season with Rice, but he's medically retiring due to concussions. That was reported by Pete Thamel. I don't know. I just thought that sucked. I don't really have any more commentary other than I hate to see that for him, because we know he had been an impact player.
Well, is that what happened? Is that why he just kind of vanished for us?
Yeah, right. It makes you wonder, how long has he been dealing with that, stuff like that. So I hated to read that.
Oh, and there's one point that, especially back in the days with Georgia, he was thought to be the next NFL,
right.
Tom Brady, big name
quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about basketball. Do we have to? You guys want to talk about
I think
basketball?
we're obligated to talk about basketball.
Is that part? It's in our contract. Is that in our
Yes,
contract?
that's
with our
right. It's in
sponsor?
our podcast contract that we made with each other that we have to talk about basketball.
I don't even know where to start here because it's not. There's no good. I mean, maybe Scooty can make it feel better, but we lost to St. John. It was like every other game we're going to see this season, guys. Where it was like first half you're like, ooh, maybe, and then second half you're like, whoops. Well, it's not.
Yeah,
good.
and Scoot, I have a question specifically for you. I didn't get a chance to hitch up on the text machine very much about this game. Because Guido's right. I think we're tied at halftime. Tell me where you've heard that before. Like pretty strong first half. Not a huge fade down the stretch, but kind of a fade. I mean, these poor guys are they're always going to be out of gas. St. John's was trying to run tempo. They pressed at times. One thing though, Scoot, that stuck out to me that I didn't understand and I'm still trying to reconcile is under a minute, 74-70, we just play on. They inbound the ball. We don't foul. We have 2 timeouts in our back pocket. We don't foul. We don't try to stop the clock. That didn't, I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm not a coach. I don't know, but it felt weird. It felt a little bit like waving the white flag a little bit.
Well, it gives you the feel like you don't feel like that's going to make a difference, so you're just not going to do anything.
Right. Yeah, it just left me like, what are we doing? We're just saying this is over?
This was maybe one of the sloppier basketball games I've ever watched. I think there was maybe a 5 to 7 minute stretch where it felt like it was either 47-45 or 50-45. I mean, it was like just shots would go up, they were off, guys would bobble the rebounds. There was constant like bobbling of the ball. Like it just was like, ooh.
Well, we seemed to have a case, Scoot, of the no grab-ems or something.
Yeah.
Like we could not.
Slippery.
Yeah, it suddenly was
Yeah.
just ungrabbable.
I don't know. It was rough to watch. Again, I'm going to say this, like, I don't know. To me, I feel like this is more of an indication as to how bad St. John's is. Like when we play close against teams, it's not so much that we played bad. It's that they're that bad that they played close to us because we were playing with literally 2 guys and the others are fillers.
Yeah, and I think to Guido's point, this is another one of those games where I leave feeling like, Scoot, if we literally just had one more body to rotate
one more guy,
we
more.
win this game. I think it's just so frustrating.
A cook probably helps us win this game.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know if we need Raekwon Battle, to be honest.
Right.
We just needed 6 points.
Yes.
8 points.
Couple rebounds.
Well,
yeah.
And this was the first game. Jesse Edwards, I will say, not that he sat a lot, but he sat more than he had been sitting. He only played 24 minutes. I mean, he's been averaging like 32 in the last couple of games. So, I thought it was your number one scorer, your I guess team leader. The guy.
Well, they had multiple. It felt like, Guido, they had multiple bigs to shuffle in and out, and I think not only that, but they got him into some sort of curious foul trouble during the game, and he didn't really have a choice but to set for periods. And
now we've got Kirk Risa coming back, not this next game, correct?
2 more games, right? He's not coming back until the UMass game. Is that correct? He sits out Pitt and Drexel?
yeah,
Okay.
Is that right?
that's right. He comes back for UMass, I think. That would be the 10th game. Yeah.
Which, again, the schedule kind of makes me laugh in a way because it was all done for Huggins, right?
Right.
UMass, of course, is Frank Martin. There's no reason why we're playing UMass except for the fact that Frank Martin coaches there. You've got Pitt on there.
And it's funny because it's the Hall of Fame Classic because he just got in the Hall of Fame. And they
You've
were
got
going to be like,
Pitino, right? There's no reason why we're playing. I mean, I'm sure that was a convenient matchup.
No, but you're right. I mean, that's
Like this whole schedule is like goofy like that. Even the Fort Myers,
classic.
classic, like to play Virginia, like that's again probably a Bennett versus Huggins kind of like a new versus old kind of thing. Like it's
Can we talk about Huggins for a minute, guys?
Sure.
Yeah, let her rip, Tater Chip.
I don't want to sit here and talk about this game because it's just
There's
it's
nothing.
the
I mean,
we're
we're
gonna
going to have
be,
this.
there's nothing
You
to break
didn't
out.
find
It's
it
going to be the
fun?
same thing.
Postpone this conversation to the next time we have a show because it's going to be the same.
It's going to be the same one. Just like next podcast, 3
Different
minutes.
color uniform.
Right. Yes.
Can we talk about Coach Huggins is showing up to every home
He
game?
was in the building. Yes.
Like, again, I say this again. I said it last time, I think, or maybe a couple shows ago. Like, I'm sure Josh Eilert loves Coach Huggins. I'm sure he does not love the fact that he keeps showing up to these games, though, right? Love me from afar.
Yeah, and here's the thing, because
That sounds like one of your high school band's hit songs, Scoot.
That would have been, that was a
Love
hit
me
for
from
us.
afar.
Yeah. That's how the girls tended to do.
love you from
Sorry,
afar.
Guido.
That's sad.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Guido keeps trying to move it
That's
on,
so
and this
sad.
is funny. That's what they did, Scoot. They wouldn't love you up
They
close.
would love me
They'd
from
love you
afar.
from afar.
At least that's what I think.
Right now, it's not bad because we're on whatever ESPN Plus, and you've got Amanda Mazey talking about Bob Huggins being in the stands or whatever. I am dreading. I mean, when we play Pitt this week, it's on ESPN2. I'm dreading when we get into the Big 12 schedule and he's at every home game, and you've got these announcers on ESPN like calling it out. The camera's hitting him. Like, it's gonna get weird.
Well, this game was delayed, right, because of a high school game that was on ESPN, and then we got kicked when it was a 4-point game in the final minutes. They kicked us to ESPN
That's a
News,
sign of the
I
times,
think.
right?
Right, like that
would
bad.
never
Feels
happen.
bad. That feels
Shoot.
not great.
I feel like Huggins would run over to like the camera guy and say, "Put us back on" or something.
But
Like if
Guido,
he was still coaching.
Guido, I don't know. I mean, look, he has every right to be there, right? He's not like banned from the Coliseum or something. But I think it does, to Scoot's point, it's almost like Eilert has to feel like he's kind of
You're, like, crippling this guy.
lording
Like, he
over
can't
lording
do his
over the
job.
process. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
It comes across like he's not supervising, but like inspecting how he does or something. Like, I don't know.
Right.
It just feels like criticizing. Like, I wouldn't do it that way.
it's not giving the wounds enough the time to heal. You know what I mean? Like, we just need a little time away, Bob. Like, we're on a break.
Could he not watch
It's
it
a break.
from his home?
Like-
Like you can watch the game on TV, right? You don't have to
Right.
be in person.
Well, maybe he doesn't get ESPN News.
Is that what you think? He doesn't have. He doesn't,
I mean,
he doesn't have a cable provider that allows for that.
but don't you feel like him showing up to the game is like, it's not about WV.
It's a
about
distraction.
It's about him. It's about him.
Right.
And
Well, and so let's say he does show up to the game. Can he not like hang out down in that like baseline area where you can kind of see from back in behind? You know what I mean? Like, isn't there like I won't say a weight
well, he's
room
kind
or
of turned in.
something
He's
back
kind of turned into a Where's Waldo, I think, because I think he's sitting in a different place every time he comes. So it's like,
And
like
it's
you
not
watch,
just
like-
him though. Like, he comes with like his wife, and like there's like a whole like
oh, there's like a
the-
whole entourage.
Yeah.
yeah.
like
So it's interesting. Other interesting thing is Jose Perez Johnson cannot let it go. Jose Perez just can't let it
Yeah,
go.
this was interesting. Scooty stirred the pot on X. I'm sure you saw this. I think we talked about this on the text machine. He shouted out Steve Mazziello, a coach on St. John's bench, with just a big thank you. And then he uses this a lot. If you like, I don't know. I remember seeing this from other stuff when I thought he was a better guy and I followed his tweets. He does the heart and then lock emoji. Like, I feel like that's a product you would sell around Valentine's Day or something, Scoot, like the love lock. I don't know what he's saying there, but it's like,
I don't know.
like-
I don't know.
and boy, Guido, did the WVU fans come after him in the comments. My Lord.
It got testy quick. I mean, and this comes off of, I think he had made a comment prior to this about how he's in a better place
Yeah,
now,
right.
and how Arizona's
Right,
better for him,
yeah.
like all that kind of stuff.
WVU threw him out in the streets. They left him like a dog in the streets, is what he said initially. That they were throwing. Listen, I'm going to say this. Let me come out and say this because I have been and was Jose Perez's maybe biggest fan prior to him actually playing or doing anything here. I was all in. Like, guy averaged 19 points in Manhattan. I know Manhattan's not big time, but that's 19 points. And in college basketball, if you average close to 20 points somewhere, you can score at just about any level at that point, especially Division I. Like, he's got some New York kind of like toughness to him. I like that. There's a lot of things I liked about Jose Perez. The one thing I don't like, and it's a big thing, right? Listen, brother, you're going to school. That's the key word, right? If you just want to play, go to the G League. But there's school is part of this thing. So when you go to a school to play basketball, there might be some sort of requirement,
like school,
whether it be a study hall, going to a class, like there's something else part of it.
It's a weird thing to get mad at school for wanting you to go to school, right? It's a weird.
And I don't care.
And let's be honest about it for 1 second here. And like, listen, no, I'm not trying to throw any shade on NCAA Division I programs, but I have a feeling that like the athletic department makes the school part of it pretty easy for these kids.
Of course, right?
Well,
give me a break.
It's not like when we went to school.
It's not. You're not Rhodes Scholar.
He was mad. No. He's mad because he already graduated, and they wanted him to go to like an underclass or undergraduate
but who cares?
class or something, or undergraduate.
Just what else are you
study
doing?
hall or something. Like, yo, I'd love to do that. Let me do it. I'll go to a study hall or an undergraduate class, and I've got like. They want you, and if that's the only requirement that they really have of me to kind of like show, it's probably to check a box, right? It's probably so that when the NCAA compliance office is checking in on things, do these kids go to class? How many credit hours do they have? Are they passing? Like, that's all this is. Listen, you're not that smart. Go to that class. Go to that study hall.
Go to school.
Don't be a jerk.
Well, I did love, though, I loved Emmett Matthews kind of tweeting him, though. Did you see any of that?
Yeah.
Like,
and that to me comes across like Big Brother, like saying, listen, kid, shut up.
Well, Emmett tweeted him like, move on, bro. I think that's what the tweet was. And then Jose went back at him, and he said, I wish I could find the tweet now, but he said something like, look, we all know you're doing the extra part for no reason. Like, why? Like, what's the deal? Like, you don't have to do this publicly, like, dig at people, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but like, You could tell he was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, there's no need to do this. Like, you're on a new team, you're playing there. Like, just
like, what are you doing? And let's be honest. If we're being, is really Steve Mazziello somebody you need to thank for like the win? Like,
yeah, right.
That team looked like dog crap. Like, they beat us by 4 or whatever.
Right.
Like, we're bad. We're real bad. Like,
and this was a game under a minute.
Players,
yeah, right.
St. Edwards and Quinn Slazinski, who we didn't know was a human until August. Nobody knew he existed. None of us. You can't tell me you knew who he was. Nobody knew him.
St. Edwards.
So funny.
Those two guys are all we got. That's all we got. And you're going to thank the assistant coach who had no impact on this whatsoever. We should probably tell Steve Mazziello, listen, guy, work a little harder because your team's not that good.
Right. Get in the gym, buddy. Like,
you can only beat West Virginia by 4? Come on, man. What's your problem?
Like, we have 7 guys. There's no other. There cannot be. I don't know. Listen, I've been accused before of not doing my homework, and I don't really give a crap. But
so can Jose Perez, by the way.
There cannot be another Power 5, Power 3, whatever, big time Division I college basketball program that is operating with less than us.
Absolutely.
And listen, we're 3-4, 3-5, something like that. We're treading water. Like, it's not great water, but we're treading some sort of water. We've won games. Like, there's other places that wouldn't win a single game. Doesn't matter who you're playing.
We are like that time I hopped off the side of the boat to help us rewrite some stuff, and then I couldn't get back in the boat, and you had to grab me and pull. Like, that's kind of the water we're in right now. Yeah,
stuff, right. Like, listen, this season, and this sounds crazy, this season is the kind of season like they make movies about.
Right.
Like, this is like the season where they, like, it's not going to
Josh Eiler walks out to the rim and measures it. He's like, what?
Like, a lot of times these movies have happy endings. I don't know that this one will have that. However, you're going to get through 75% of this movie is what we're living right now. Like, this is we're in this part.
Gene Hackman plays.
Like, it might be a tragedy.
Alex Ruoff or something. Yeah.
Like, it's bad. And it's going to be bad again. Like, we got Pitt. Is Jose Perez going to thank us when Pitt beats us, or thank Pitt when they, he's going to thank Jeff Capel? Thanks, Jeff. Like, come on.
Heartlock. That's what I'm going to start using, Scoot. When I tweet, it includes you. I'm going to put Heartlock.
Heartlock Perez. When Heartlock Perez thanks Jeff Capel for beating us, you can tweet back at him or X back at him.
Yes.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see if he does. Guys, one last thing I want to talk about is, and Scoot, we're definitely going to tap you in to help us out here. WVU Soccer.
All right, mates.
For the first time in the history of the program, is going to the NCAA College Cup, which is the Final Four for Division I soccer. They beat Loyola Marymount 3-1 on Saturday to advance. They play Clemson. Is that correct, Scoot? They play Clemson on Friday night?
I believe, yeah. Clemson, Notre Dame, WVU,
and Oregon State.
Oregon State are the four teams left.
Yeah.
Soccer is an interesting. It's kind of it's not. It doesn't really worry too much about Power 5 conferences. It doesn't really worry too much about the same schools all the time. You've got some general. Notre Dame's typically a very good soccer school. You'll hear Clemson sometimes. You'll hear about in the past Syracuse was decent. So there's always some perennial powers. However, there was a stretch of time where Akron was a powerhouse soccer team. So it's kind of a weird.
It's a different sport. Yeah, for sure.
And the Big 12 doesn't even have men's soccer. So we're actually in the Sun Belt, which is odd. We're in the same conference with Marshall.
Yeah, we play. So, but we've talked about Dan Stratford for a couple of years. He played at WVU. He coached at University of Charleston, and then he went to WVU. He's turned the program around and done amazing things with it. This season, by the way, and first of all, I was just to educate myself a little bit. I was looking at box scores and leaders and all that kind of stuff. Just get who, I don't know. I can't pronounce half their names anyways, which would be a whole nother show that would be entertaining. But what's hilarious to me is, we talk about Jesse Edwards playing 28 minutes or 32 minutes and all this. These guys, some of these guys for the season have 2,400 minutes that they've played on the pitch.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. And they're running 3 times as much as Jesse Edwards is running.
The typical midfielder in a standard game runs on average about 9 miles a game.
That's crazy.
That's
insane.
And there's
Scoot, you've never run 9 miles.
Maybe since I was born. Together combined, I may have eclipsed 9 miles at some point. But it's soccer it's not super popular amongst major football fans for whatever reason. It's just those two demographics typically don't blend. It's a finicky sport. For those of you that follow professional soccer, that you can dominate a team and lose. You can play horribly and win by a couple of goals. It's so things have to line up timing wise, matchup wise. It's just a unique thing. And I still, having coached soccer for as long as I did, and I've coached other sports, basketball, baseball. I still say that at times there is nothing more exciting than watching a goal happen when you've played scoreless for so long, trying so hard to score, and then it actually happens. It's a pretty epic moment in sports.
But do you recall? I can't help when I think about Dan Stratford and this soccer team. I think about that weird period. So he came in 2020. I think that's correct.
Before him was Marlon LeBlanc,
who had success.
Right.
I mean, it was a strong program. And then remember, we had that. What I started to say is we had that weird, abrupt, like, still part of the previous AD, like when a bunch of weird stuff felt like it was going on, he just was like abruptly relieved of duty or left.
Right.
And it felt like
it was weird.
It was a really awkward,
because there was a stretch there where WVU sent a bunch of guys to like MLS. And
right.
It was kind of like a little bit of a pipeline of professional players. Right. So it wasn't like we had bad talent. And then,
no, I mean, Marlon LeBlanc's last year in 2019, they went to the NCAAs.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I don't know if it was a matter of Marlon wanting to live somewhere else or if WVU saying, I don't know. I really don't know what led to Marlon leaving, because it was, to me, a kind of a surprise when he left. But WVU couldn't have put themselves in a better situation with Dan Stratford having a very good run at Charleston. And the fact that he was a former player only sweetens this thing. And if any of you have seen that interview that he had after the game, last game, he got emotional and teary-eyed and, said stuff like, it means a little bit more when you've played here. And, we knew we were good. We knew we had something good, but it's that much more special. And to do it in front of your home crowd, too, is also pretty special. Now, I know they play the NCAA Final Four is usually in North Carolina.
No, it's in Kentucky.
It's in Kentucky. It used to be in North Carolina, so that's that'll be good. It's a close travel for WVU fans, if that's something WVU fans want to travel to. So I know they do it.
Well, and I will say, Scooty, like I've watched a couple of matches. They're not called games, by the way; they're matches. I've watched a couple of matches here towards the end of the season because they were doing so well on ESPN Plus, and kudos to the student. I mean, especially even in this game that they just played on Saturday, like the students and the fans, like that. Dick Gillespie Stadium was packed, like full of people, and it was loud and it was pretty impressive. And I sit there and I go, well, you think about, we've had a decent women's soccer program. We've had a very, the men's program has been great. Maybe we're a soccer school. Maybe that we need to buy into that.
I will say this, we on this show have bantied about how we need to get out of the Big 12 or why the Big 12's not for us. Sports like soccer have really benefited from being in the Big 12 because of the financial benefits of being in such a financially stable conference. There's a lot of money that has been brought in from the Big 12 that have gone to soccer, have gone to volleyball, have gone to some of these Olympic sports. And they've benefited from some of that. So it's a very strong program, and both men and women, and it's neat that baseball, that's another sport that's benefited from that money as well. It's neat that WVU can be relevant in another way. So
yeah, I mean,
it's always a positive thing for sure.
Right, it's definitely a positive thing, and so WVU soccer plays on Friday night. That game is at 6 p.m. That match is at 6 p.m. It's on ESPNU, so it's on a network. You can get it. You can watch it. And so if they win that game, they move on to play the winner of the Oregon State-Notre Dame game that Monday. That's the national championship game on Monday night, which will be on ESPN, I believe. So pretty cool. It's good to see the program, and as much as we can complain about basketball and football right now, there are other parts of the athletic department that are doing very well. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Well, boys, we're going to wrap it up this week. This week for basketball, they play basketball, right? We have a game. We have a game that's kind of important. It's the Backyard Brawl. That is Wednesday night at 9 p.m. in the Coliseum. 9 p.m., by the way, tip in the Coliseum. So good luck with that, staying up late, bringing your kids to that game. That game's on ESPN2. And then Saturday, we play Drexel. That's on the ESPN Plus. That's at the Coliseum as well, a 4 p.m. tip. And like I said, don't forget, watch the Mountaineers play some soccer in the national championship, the Final Four of soccer, the NCAA Cup. That is Friday night at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. And don't forget, look for us too. We're online. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Just search Got Your Eers On. And you can also check out our website, gotyourearson.com. Johnson, it's cool.
It has many traits. Cool is one of them. That's correct. We will post all of the notes from this week's show and links to some stuff we talked about there in the blog. We'll also have the link to the latest tune-in version of the show. You can just click the link and listen to it right there in the page. And you can also click through. Christmas is coming up. You can also click through to the merch store and check out all the GYEO merch, Guido.
Yeah, so check it out. GotYourEarsOn.com. We'll be back soon with another episode, which Scooty will be breaking down his favorite Mayos.
That's right.
Duke's may be one of them.
We'll do a taste test of Mayo at the next show.
Yes, right. It'll be Mayo heavy.
Can Cool Whip be in that discussion?
Cool Whip.
I mean,
yeah.
Cool Whip.
Cool Whip.
I mean,
it's not a Mayo, so we would say no.
You put that on turkey?
It's a Mayo alternative.
No, it's not.
It kind of is.
No, it has sugar in it.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
I don't know why I just said that. Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, we'll be back next time to talk about Mayos or Cool Whips or whatever you want it to be.
Miracle Whip, not Cool Whip. I did not mean Cool Whip.
You said Cool
Yeah,
Whip.
you said Cool Whip. Guido and I were sitting here trying to solve the turkey sandwich with Cool Whip puzzle.
Okay, how about let's talk about Miracle Whip.
Scoot, you're going to break down the difference between mayo and mayonnaise? Is that what it is? That's what we're doing next episode?
No, so Miracle Whip, that's the alternative to mayo.
That's the alternative to mayo, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can that be involved in the taste test?
I think it has to be, yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm in.
At this point. All right, we'll do that. So don't go anywhere. Tell your friends, like, share, subscribe to the show because we have very important topics.
I did not mean Cool Whip. I'm so upset. Sorry for the folks at Cool Whip.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.